Hello and welcome to the Be Glad movement. My name's Pollyanna and I'm on a mission to bring you as many stories as possible of good coming out of bad and reasons to be glad. And this morning I'm joined by Nicolas. Say hello, Nicolas.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. As per usual, I'm going to get out of the way and let you dive straight in with your story. So take the stage.
All right. So my name is Nicolas. I am originally from the north of France, and I've been living in Finland for the last 16 months. I'm almost 43 years old, and I'm the happy father of two children. They're twins, a boy and a girl, who are 6.5 years old. And we all live up in near Helsinki with my wife, who's also Finnish. My story. It's a long story, so bear with me. I started my professional career as a teacher and moved on into academic circle, became a university professor of American civilization, applied to business. So that was my job for about 7 years, taught at university in France, taught in a couple of business schools in France as well. And on the side of that, my personal hobby since 1995 were purebred dogs. So I have been showing dogs and working dogs and breeding with the Rottweiler, which is my favorite breed of dogs, and been competing with my dogs all over Europe, and got puppies from my kennel over 4 continents in the world. So that was my side thing, my hobby for a long time. And then 2007, through acquaintances, I had the chance to get out of teaching and move into the private industry sector and go and work in the pet industry for a French company that was manufacturing dog and cat supplies, accessories. So I did that, decided, what the heck, I'll do that. Went back to school for a little bit because I didn't feel quite confident about my ability to do business. So went back to school and got an MBA degree in 2007, 2008. Figured that's actually not where you learn business. Turns out you actually learn business by doing business. But anyhow, I guess the old academic side of me was more comfortable having some kind of degree. It was a self-confidence booster somehow. That didn't work out too well. Didn't get along too well with the CEO of the company, and I was fired for the first time in my life in 2009. My father, when I told him I was getting fired, he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "Oh, well, good thing you can always go back to teaching." And I really didn't want to go back to teaching. And I thought I have not left the whole teaching situation and gone back to school, got that degree and everything, just to go back to teaching after 2 years just because I got fired. So I started looking for a new job, got in touch with a bunch of people I knew from the business, and ended up 3 weeks later landing a super nice job with a supplier of my former employer. That supplier was an American company, a rather large corporation, $250 million in sales yearly, and I became an international business manager for that firm and operated B2B key accounts all over Europe in 9 different countries. I didn't have children at the time, and was enjoying the nice international lifestyle that goes with a fancy corporate business job. I enjoy my job quite a bit. Met a lot of interesting people, did a really a real bunch of very exciting things, opened direct accounts with Amazon in the UK, Amazon in Germany, and got to navigate the circles of high-level corporations, and that was very exciting. I was traveling, of course, a whole lot for that, and enjoying the nice 4- 5-star hotel lifestyle that goes with it. Nice rental cars, restaurants, fancy people. Really nice when you're 34, 35, 36, and so on. It's a really good place to be at in life. So I was enjoying my job a lot and was quite successful at it.
Uh-huh.
And everything was nice and good until one Friday morning in October of 2011, when I found a notification in my mailbox that a registered letter had was waiting for me at the post office. I had no idea what it was, honestly. I thought I'd just been caught speeding again, because traveling a lot with rental cars and being in a hurry, that's the kind of stuff that happens every now and then. You get tickets, right? So I thought I'd just gotten another ticket from a foreign country. And walked to the post office, picked up the registered letter, and saw my employer's address as the sender. And without even opening the envelope, I immediately knew what it meant. Opened the envelope anyway, and of course it said you're going to be terminated on economic grounds. So for economic reasons, we're gonna have to terminate your contract. So you'll be out of a job in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
That was really hard. I still sometimes get goosebumps when I tell that story, because I still remember 7 years later how it felt to get fired like that after you poured your heart and soul into a job, traveling extensively, having close to zero personal life. I mean, I was busy all the time. I was gone up to 28 days per month,
Wow.
spending every other month a couple of weeks in the US at corporate headquarters, and traveling all over the place, enjoying every bit of it. But I had really been super, super busy working on Sundays, Saturdays, evenings, etc., because of the time difference between me and my employer in Tennessee. So I had been working my butt off for 2 years, and all it took was one letter to tell me that on economic grounds, whatever that meant, because the group was very successful and had a very comfortable EBITDA, and I was the only person out of 650 employees getting the sack. So if you're going to terminate employees for economic reasons, usually you don't terminate just one guy, right? So it didn't feel right. And I spent the entire weekend feeling sorry for myself. I felt my whole world had collapsed. What was my whole world at the time had collapsed, and I spent the better part of the weekend um, crying and feeling sorry for myself, and planning my revenge already, because it was an alpha male, reaction that you're being provoked. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go to a competitor, and I'm really going to show you guys
Sure.
how much damage I can really do when you terminate me, and you allow me to go to competition. I will go to the competition, and you'll see what happens. So I spent the entire weekend in that frame of mind. And then another funny thing happened on Monday, which
Mm.
is the defining moment in my life. I guess that's the right thing to say. I found out on the Monday that my wife was pregnant with
Right.
twins.
Wow.
So Friday, you're out of a job, feeling desperate the entire weekend, completely desperate, seeking revenge, wanting to go and take the next corporate job and show those guys how wrong they were to terminate you. And on Monday, you find out you're going to be a father, not of one, but two awesome babies. Um, so it's kind of I guess, a defining moment, life altering moment for sure. I mean, I guess every parent can understand what I'm talking about. You, for the rest of your life, you never forget the day you found out that you were going to be a parent. You don't forget the day your kids are born, etc. But the very first time that you're given the news that it's going to happen, this is something that you can, of course, never forget. So my moment as a father was extremely peculiar, because it was coming 3 days after being told I was out of a job. And a couple things happened in the same split second, and I realized how lucky I was that those two things happened in one split second. The first thing that happened is that I immediately understood that I could no longer work that kind of job that I
Right.
used to have. Being gone 28 days a month is no lifestyle for a father, right?
Sure.
But the second thing that happened in the exact same split second is that I no longer wanted to have that kind of job. And I'm very lucky in that sense, because I have bumped into a number of people over the last few years who have had stories about, how they found out they were going to have kids, etc., and that they realized that they could no longer do the kind of job that they used to do, but they felt horrible about it.
Right.
They still wanted to have that job, and so they felt bad about it. And for years, they lived in regret that they could not at the same time have an exciting job and be a good father or a good mom. So I was very lucky in the sense that in the same second, I realized I could no longer do it, but also didn't want to do it anymore. So that was really one excellent thing for me. I didn't care anymore about the job. In the next second, I was like, okay, well, so what? So you got fired. All right. So you're 36 years old, and you know a bunch of people. You speak a couple of languages. You got diplomas. You got a network. You'll find something. A job's a job, right? You'll find something. You'll land back on your feet. It's all right. And the most important stuff in life now is going to be somewhere else. It's going to be at home. It's going to be your family, right? It's what you thought was important. Your traveling, your hotels, your sales figures, your all those things, your business relationship. Okay, this is all nice and fine, but the really important thing now is going to be at home, and it's going to be at home in a very short time, because pregnancy, 9 months, it initially it seems quite long, but you realize that it goes by just like that. It's actually a lot quicker thing. So I figured I'm gonna find something else to do, and very quickly it dawned on me that it was going to become supremely important for me to have more visibility on what was happening to me professionally. Right. Because I had just gotten fired completely out of nowhere from a company where I was doing a very good job on a daily basis. It was a good job, and I was doing a very good job of it. Earning millions in cash for my employer, and just being a very good professional. And also because someone doesn't want to see your face anymore, someone feels threatened, or someone has a different idea as to how things should be organized, they decide to just lay you off, and you haven't seen anything come at all. And it just happens, and you just have to deal with it. And I thought that's going to be really uncomfortable now having kids, because it's no longer just about you, it's also about your ability to sustain your family and being responsible for what happens to your kids. So I very quickly, I thought of what would be a good professional situation that would allow me to have more control over things, over what was happening to me, have better control over my schedule, and have better control over my working hours and what I choose to do and not do, where I choose to go or not to go. And I figured I'm gonna create a business of my own. And still being the insatiable dog enthusiast that I was, I figured I'm going to launch a pet food brand. There was a certain kind of pet food that was missing from the French market at the time, fresh meat, grain-free type of food. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna create something around that and become my own boss. And I'm gonna be working with my wife, and we're gonna be in full control. So out of this terrible situation of getting fired out of nowhere and finding out 3 days later you're going to have kids, other people might have thought, oh my God, I mean, that's it, I'm doomed, losing out of a job, father of two. I mean, what the hell? Doesn't get any worse than that. Well, out of all that, we came something really good. We decided to create the company, and I'm really glad we did, because pregnancy was actually quite complicated, and my wife was hospitalized 21 weeks into pregnancy only, and for the first time, and then second time hospitalized around 25 weeks, and that's when they told us that she was going to have to stay in the hospital laying down until the kids would come out. Wow. And that was 25 weeks into pregnancy, and I asked the doctor, I said, how long is that going to be? When do you think the kids might come out? and the doctor said they might come out in a minute. What would you like their names to be?
Wow.
25 weeks. That's the limit. Usually the limit for a human baby. Usually when they're born around that age, they stand a good chance of not making it. So I thought, wow, okay, life really, really can hand you lemons sometimes. But my wife hung in there, and she managed to keep those babies inside until 32 weeks of pregnancy, which with every day going by was giving the babies a better fighting chance of making it out of there in a good shape.
Sure.
So being unemployed at that time, after all, came in very handy because I was able to be next to her in the hospital every single day and cook decent meals for her because, you know, hospital food is not so good. So I was going home, cooking the meals and coming back and delivering the nice meals to her and spending time with her there and just being supportive. In the meantime, working on a business plan and doing the odd bit of short traveling to go and find a supplier for our food, etc. So really starting to lay those bricks one after the other to get the business started. The babies were born 32 weeks into pregnancy, so around 7 months of pregnancy, which is of course still way too early, and they spent another 7 weeks in the emergency unit for premature babies. That was also another, you know, tough thing to go through. But again, was somehow out of a job at the time, and the unemployment system in France takes care of you for about 2 years after you've been laid off. So it was actually a positive thing for me that I had enough time to be there and literally live at the clinic for another 7 weeks until we were able to go home with our babies at the end of May. We came home at the end of May with the babies, and everything pretty much fell into place.
Awesome. I think I've lost you a bit.
Side of the house because it turned out working from inside the house. You might have for a couple seconds. Is it better if I?
Oh, it's good. It's fine. We're okay now.
Off. No, it's good enough. Okay. So we came back from the clinic with the babies at the end of May, and in an incubator not too far from the house because it turned out to be quite a challenge to be working on a business plan from inside the house with two newborns. You know, day in and day out. So got that small office in an incubator and started working there by myself, and of course worked a lot from the house as well. And we registered the brand and the company at the end of the year. So I always say I had 3 kids the same year. I had a boy, a girl, and a company in the same year, 2012. And things have been growing ever since. We sold 60,000 euros worth of products in our first year of business, which was, of course, not very much and certainly not enough to sustain it. I was working by myself. My wife was helping also any way she could. And we are going to close this year's business with over 3.2 million euros in sales, and we've just hired our 12th employee. So the business is now quite sturdy, quite successful, and we have been able last summer 2017, to move to Finland and spend the better part of the year in Finland because we really like it here, and we wanted our kids to learn their mom's culture as well as their dad's. So the kids are going to the French-Finnish school here in Helsinki, and we've been having a very good time living here for almost a year and a half now. And I spent now about 80% of the year in Finland, and the other 20% doing the odd bit of traveling to my office in France, meet with my team, and visit suppliers, factories, and trade shows and everything. So it's about 20% of my time traveling, which is a huge improvement versus what it was 8 years ago. So, but that's it. So don't despair, even when you get that piece of bad news. It might actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't have no idea where I'd be at if I had just found out on that Monday that I was going to have twins, but had not gotten fired previously. I really don't know how that would have developed. I would have been gone all the time during pregnancy. God knows what would have happened to my wife and to the babies, and would have not been able to be home, maybe not even be there when they were born. It would have been absolutely different. And I have a feeling I got it much better. So this
Wow.
is this is my story of turning those lemons into lemonade.
It's a great story because in the moment when you got that letter saying that you were going to be fired, and you have described beautifully the rage that you had, that you were going
It
to
was horrible.
turn it
Yeah.
vindictive and try and beat them. I mean, how I'm really glad that your wife told you she was pregnant on the Monday, because you could have already found yourself a new job and be on a mission to wreak
Yeah.
revenge.
Yeah.
So it all actually worked out perfectly timing wise. I mean, I know it was still touch and go and hard with your wife in hospital, but wonderful that you were able to be there for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And now you've got a successful business. So
Yeah. It looks that way. And I've also been working on this personal branding project for now almost a year, because as you can imagine, it took a bit of organization, reorganization, and a bit of management to be in a position to leave physically the office and live 80% of the time 2,000 kilometers away from the team. It didn't happen overnight. Of course, we were traveling to Finland pretty much every summer for a holiday break. And in the summer of 2016, we were having our vacation time in Finland, having about 10, 12 days of vacation there, and spending an additional 3, 4 weeks there, just hanging out. I would phone call in the morning, doing a bit of email in the afternoon, just to keep things running. And things kept running for a few weeks. And after a couple of weeks of that, we're still in Finland. I was thinking, actually, what would prevent us from doing this all the time, living, in a remote place and managing from a distance? Because obviously the company has not collapsed in the last 5 weeks that I've been here. Obviously, business seems to be recurring and things are still happening, and the employees to be able cannot manage to seem to pick up the phone or send me an email, and I reply and get things going again. So what would it take to do this all the time? Country is super clean, it's super safe, it's quiet, it's very relaxing. School system for children in Finland is absolutely phenomenal. It's got a worldwide reputation for being phenomenal. And I thought, we would always figured with my wife that someday we would go and live in Finland, but somehow for the kids. But somehow we'd always told ourselves that we'll do that when they're 8, 9, 10. And you don't really know why you say 8 or 9 or 10. It's just something you say to that you mean that not now, sometime later, and you kind of pin a number on it, thinking, okay, it'll happen sometime in the future. You're not comfortable with it happening now, but someday it'll be nice. But if you're not careful, 8, 9 can become 11, 10, 12, 13, and next thing you know, never done it. And moving with teenagers is something that might also feel a whole lot harder than moving abroad when the kids are 5 years old. So then you won't do it and then next thing you know, they're 18 and you haven't done it. So I think, why, there's no written rule anywhere that says that we got to wait until they're 9 or 10 to move to Finland. And what would it take for this to be possible throughout the year? And so I got a notebook out and started writing all the things that I thought were keeping us from doing that all the time. And of course, there was a rather long list of things that were business related, management and all those things. But when I went over the list, I thought, hey, there's really nothing in there that cannot be achieved. Nothing in there that can be done. You need to get organized, maybe hire a couple people and do this and do that and install a couple of processes. And, it's I know how to do that. I mean, I've been doing that for a couple of years. I had done that in my previous jobs, and I see nothing impossible there. Of course, I need to do a bit of reading, a bit of research, blah blah blah. But hey, there are a couple books. Well, how about I start with this one, that one? So I got very methodical about it, and next thing you know, so we flew home. We flew back to France at the end of the summer, and I got cracking on that project. The project was next July, August 2017. We will register the kids for school in Finland. And ready or not, we'll move and we'll take it from there. And we have pretty much the school year to get the business organized and get it in order so that it can withstand me being gone for periods of 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time, then come back for a week and then go again and then come back, etc. So basically my plan was to come back to France 8 to 10 times in the year and manage it that way. So it was a whole lot of work. Worked on it super hard between 2016 and 2017, but we had really great motivation for that. We really wanted to come to that deadline in July in 2017 and actually lock the door to the house and get in the car and drive up to Finland. And we actually did that. So we hired a bunch of people, pretty much doubled the size of the team actually over the last 18 months. But of course, we also doubled the business over the same period of time. And we set up this pretty nice lifestyle for us here. Both work from our house in the Helsinki area. And so we each have a home office. Separate floors. My wife is on the lower floor. I'm on the upper floor. We feel comfortable that way. So we spend a whole lot of time actually together, pretty much together all the time. We're at least in the same house. And yeah, it's looking back on it, it's something that is I would say 95% great news and 95% positive. It has its drawbacks, of course. There's the odd bit of traveling, and there's some of the things from France that I occasionally miss being here in Finland. And yes, Nordic taxation is quite steep, and I'll never complain ever again about French taxation now that I know what it's like here in Finland. But other than that, I mean, it's 95% positive. The kids are doing great at school. We enjoy the lifestyle here. It's so nice, quiet, clean, and relaxing. Go out to the forest any time of the day to have a walk with the dog and answer the odd bit of email from wherever I am and get things running smoothly. And the team in France has really stepped up and really come through in terms of becoming really their own people, and our business has really become their business. Right. And they have really thrived and seem to be enjoying it. So overall, super positive, and we have now achieved this lifestyle where we are in control of things. If I don't want to go there, I just don't go there. If I don't want to go then, I just don't go then. I just go later. And having your own business really allows you to be the professional you always wished you were. And when you work for an employer, that's not easy. You have to work with customers that you don't like, but you got to work with the customers that you're being assigned. And the suppliers, well, they are what they are. You don't get to choose them, and you don't get to choose your coworkers. And it's not for you to say about this or about that. Well, when you have your own business, is really your chance to be the person you always wanted to be, and work, follow your own ethics, and so on and so forth. So about that personal branding thing, side gig of mine, I figured, well, all those things that I had to set up to be able to remove myself from the everyday operations of the business and live here, all those tricks and tips can actually be useful to a lot of small business owners, because I realized, talking with other small business owners in France and in other places, that we usually have common dreams when we set out to be entrepreneurs, and the 3-4 main bullet points of those dreams are having, of course, financial independence, being able to do things the way you want them done, have more time for your family, have more quality time for your family, and so we have those dreams in common. What I've also noticed, talking with those guys and ladies, is that 2 or 3 years into it, well, many people are actually quite far off that mark.
Right.
They're traveling all the time. They worry sick all the time. They're always super busy. They work crazy hours. They come home 9 o'clock at night, don't even see their kids. And they're a pain in the butt on weekends because they're there, but they're not really there. You know, they're working on their smartphone and checking this, checking that, and looking obviously worried and thinking about other things and really not enjoying it. Least of all, vacations. Vacations are a nightmare. They're able to switch off for maybe 2 days at best, but then on the third day, here they are again, you know, looking at their phone and sending emails and making phone calls and et cetera, et cetera. So I thought actually we all have those same dreams, but it seems that very few of us actually get to live the dream in the end and really enjoy all those good sides of owning your own business and being your own boss, is that freedom and independence and that control that it's supposed to allow you to have over things. Actually, those of us who get to that point are actually few and far between. But getting to that point does not happen by accident. You got to make a deliberate choice to get to that point. And I thought, hey, I made a deliberate choice, and I took deliberate, well thought out, precise actions to make this thing happen. And I've learned all those things in the process. And maybe all those tricks and tips could be useful to other small business owners. Not for them to move abroad like I did. I mean, I took it pretty far, but maybe just to have decent evenings. Maybe just to have decent weekends, maybe actually being able to relax for 8 days in a row when you're on vacation and not being an idiot to your family, your friends, your brothers and sisters, and your parents. You know, as I always say, being a husband to your wife, a father to your kids, a brother to your siblings, and a son to your parents. And can you actually tick those 4 boxes and feel good about it? And I figured I'm going to start writing content about that. Articles, podcasts. I'm now getting into videos, free content that I'm just putting out there for small business owners who want to take control back over things. Right. Take a step away, work on the business and not so much in the business, reorganize their work, reorganize their team, and achieve more satisfying work-life balance, if there is such a thing as balance, but at least be more conscious about the action steps you can actually take to change things. If you no longer enjoy the way it is, you can actually do something about it. Got, of course, into, read a whole bunch of things, listened to a whole lot of podcasts. One of my favorite people to listen to is world famous Gary Vaynerchuk. As many people, Gary says something repeatedly. He's obsessed with this one thing that actually hits home with me, is that he's responsible. He takes responsibility for everything that happens. He's accountable for everything. And while many people might think that you probably can't sleep at night if you tell yourself all the time that you're responsible for 100% of what happens to you, it's actually quite the opposite, because it gives you back the control over things. Taking full responsibility for everything actually puts you back in the driver's seat. And that's a really good piece of news, that at any point, any time, you're always in the driver's seat. You don't like it, you can change it. But it starts with accepting accountability and responsibility for everything and feeling comfortable with it, owning everything you do. That's what gives you freedom. And it's probably the number one difference with being an employee, is that as a business owner, you really get to say what you want and what you no longer want. And you have it within the realm of your possibilities to take action on it, and change things if you don't like them. So the content is completely free. At this point, I have no idea where I really want to take that thing. It's not quite clear to me. Do I want to do motivational speaking, public speaking, consulting, VIP coaching? Not quite clear to me. I'm in that phase at the moment where I'm writing content, putting out content, trying to get a feel for what my audience would like to hear more about, and what other topics they would be curious to listen to me about or read my articles about. So trying to pick up feedback from those guys, starting with the dozens of small business owners that I know in the north of France. So my target at the moment, my target audience is strictly the French small business owners, because I thought about that for a while initially, but I felt that that's the audience I can probably most easily relate to, being French myself. But I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if anyone else outside of France is seeking advice on how to get your control back on things and achieve better work-life balance and organize your team so that you're able to work more on the business and less in the business, and you are not French, well, I'm game. We can always do it in English.
Yeah. Well, and then I love that your kids are also going to school to learn. I'm presuming they've learned English as well as the French and Finnish. So
they'll start English next year. Actually, at the moment, where it's a hard enough job dealing with French and Finnish as it is. But of course, here in Scandinavia, all kids learn English from a very young age, and it's very common for people here to speak 3-4 languages fluently. So they'll pretty soon.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, I'm gonna send me the links for your for the dog food business as well as the motivational stuff, because I'm sure there's going to be people that are interested in both. But thank you so much for giving up your time this morning, because you've already explained how busy you are. So I really appreciate it, because that story is going to help a lot of people that might be either just finished, just lost their job, or thinking of starting a business, to jump out of that cycle of travel and no time for themselves. So
my pleasure. I hope it's if it's useful to only even one person, it's still a great thing. I'm pretty sure your project will be useful to more than one person, because you are on a mission for 100 stories, if I understand
100 stories
correctly.
by the end of the year, yeah.
So 100 different ways of bouncing back, and 100 different stories means 100 different chances for them to resonate with people. So that's a great project. I wish you the best with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If you like this video, do please hit the like and subscribe button, and you'll get notifications when new videos are uploaded. And of course, share it if you want to share it with your friends. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you search for @BeGladMovement, you'll be able to find us. And if you've got a story that you'd like to share, please do get in touch. It doesn't matter if it's a story similar to somebody else's, because I really do believe that your story and your voice has the ability to help someone in their time of need. So please do get in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in another episode. Many thanks.